Hey babes, welcome to Your Mom's Best Friends podcast, where we come together as a tribe and share the good, the bad, and the what in the actual fuck moments of motherhood, all while building our dream life. I'm your host, Brandy Ververs, mama to two littles, Army veteran, and business enthusiast. I'm obsessed with empowering mamas to live their life with their babies in tow while also building their dreams. If you're ready for a good laugh or to get inspired, grab your cup of coffee because you're in the right place. You guys, oh my gosh. We just completed our very first Ververs Family camping trip this past weekend for Memorial Day. And wow, was it a learning experience? Not only for the camping side, but also for the parenting side. Okay, in today's episode, we are going to talk about letting your kids at a younger age fly the nest. You know, when we're 18, we hear about it, right? When your kids turn 18, they usually want to leave. And then some parents kind of like don't want their kids to leave. Let's talk about transitioning from like toddler age to child age, I guess, because there's a transition in that sense, right? And we found this out over the weekend because, so our camping spot, we stayed at a KOA, absolutely highly recommend if you are ever camping anywhere where you need like sewer, electric, all of that stuff, showers, bathrooms, they had it all. Plus they had things for the kids to do. I don't know if that was like a Memorial Day weekend thing or if it's all the time, but highly recommend the KOAs. But our site was the closest to the actual building, bathroom, restrooms, and playground. Okay. And this is where we started to learn some things as parents. Okay. So Chuck is 4, Lil is 6, and they are starting to want to go out and play by themselves. Now, up until that point, we were not helicopter parents, but we like always had eyes on them. Okay. We were always outside with them when they were playing, even when it came to the backyard. You know, they were still at that, especially Chuck was still at that very young age. Now they're getting to the age to where they want to go to the neighbor's house or they want to go to like play at outside by themselves, right? And I feel like this is the point where we have to let them leave a little, right? We have to give the leash. And so anyways, started to get off topic there, but our camping spot was right across from the playground, and we didn't necessarily like, we had eyes on them, but like if I had to run into the camper, I could do that, right? And we could, like, we were in yelling distance, right? So, and there was like this little lane that people could drive down if you were on that lane, right? So even still then we were like, look both ways. Like they would go like start to walk, okay? And I would yell, look both ways. And like I feel like I always have to do that still, because it doesn't, Lil's like starting to get the hang of it to where like every time she knows she gets to a point to where there's cars crossing, to stop and look. Although sometimes I do catch her and she doesn't do it. So that's still something that I yell, right? And getting Chuck to know that, like, because he does this thing where he goes like this. If you're watching the video, you know I'm circling my head. And that's him looking both ways. And that's not what we mean, right? We mean left, right, left, okay? Look both ways. Make sure there are no cars coming. Make sure, especially in that area, there are no golf carts coming. Or they had even like little pedal bikes. Make sure there's nobody coming, okay? We don't need you hit by anything. And so letting them have that leash for the very first time, and it's so crazy because I feel like we go through parenthood and we're always just going through the movements, right? We're all sitting here just trying to figure it out. And then there becomes a point to where we're like, oh, this is like a milestone, right? And so letting them go to the park, it was a very little park. It was like, it had a like swing set, it had like a jungle gym that had monkey bars and like stuff to climb up, and then it had not a merry-go-round, but I guess maybe that's what you call it. I can't remember what it's called. It's like the old school like metal ones though. Had one of those, right? That's all the park. So like you could see the park and or like the playground, and letting them go and just figuring out life, to make new friends, you know, like not be in like talking distance. We were definitely in yelling distance, right? But not hovering over them, right? Giving them that little bit of leash to be a little bit more independent. And so that happened over Memorial Weekend, right? We hit that milestone to where we let the kids kind of be out of sight, but not really, right? And what started that was the week before, so our neighbor, a couple houses down, maybe like 3 houses down, has a son who is literally maybe like 3 days younger than Lil. And so they're very close in age. They have a basketball hoop in their driveway, and he's always outside playing basketball. He also has an older sister, who I think maybe is like 9. And she had been asking to go play, right? And I'd be like, yeah, sure. Like, that's fine. Go ahead. Like, cause like I've talked to the parents before. I've talked to the kids before. We've both lived in the same area, in the same neighborhood since we've moved in. We wave at each other when we drive by, like that sort of thing. Okay. And so I was like, yeah, sure, absolutely. And, but I would sit on the porch. I'd have my laptop. I'd be doing some type of work. Okay. And then, that same thing, they were in yelling distance, right? But in a public area, that was something completely new for us. And it was something completely new for Rob because I'm always the one home with the kids. And so I have done that. Whereas camping, that was his first time not being like hands-on. He's a helicopter parent. And so doing that in public was a completely new adventure. And when we had come back, this conversation actually had sparked last night with those parents, those neighbor parents, and it was talking about, like, I was just asking them parenting questions because, like I said, you guys, we're all just sitting here trying to figure out, and sometimes we'll be coming home kind of late, and I asked them, I was like, what time do your kids go to bed? Because sometimes we'll be coming home at like 7:30, and Lil's like, can I go play? And it's still light out at this point of the year, right? But I'm like, no, he's probably like sleeping. And so I just had to ask the parents, and they were like, no, like, we're not that strict. They kind of just go to bed like or like come inside once it's dark out, and then we start like dinner, bath, like, so they're on the same schedule we are. We are not super super strict parents when it comes to scheduling, because our schedules as parents are unpredictable, right? Sometimes Rob gets home at 8, sometimes he gets home at 9, sometimes he gets home at 5, sometimes he gets home at 6:30. Like, it kind of all just depends. And so like our schedule during the evening is not that strict. And so I was like, okay, good to know. And then I also had another question follow up to him, and I was like, well, question, because I see you guys, you let your kids go out on their bikes, and I see them like around the neighborhood. And then he kind of broke it down for me. And he also gave me another really good tip that I really wanted to share with you guys. And so he was like, well, kind of how it started was, so because their daughter is older, they were always together, in which it's going to be that way for us as well. And it's based on a like trust thing, right? So we have our street, and then there's a row of houses, and then there's a green belt, and then there's another row of houses. If you don't know what a green belt is, it's basically like a sidewalk that goes between 2 backyards of houses, and it's maintained by the community, and it's like grass on either side and like a sidewalk, basically what it is. And so what they did was they could only go on our street, right? And they had to check in every so often, okay? Or like they'd go down the street and back and then like check in, stuff like that, right? And then it was like, okay, once they became really good at checking in, going down and up that street, then we let them go to that street plus the green belt, right? So they didn't even really have to, I think there's like a stop sign that's like in between those 2 streets. And so, and mind you, this is all in our neighborhood. There's no main streets, nothing like that. There's maybe like, I think there's only 3-way in, 3-way out, of a whole entire neighborhood. And so let them go to the green belt, and then it was our street, and they could do the circle, like a bigger circle, right, of the green belt. And then same thing, whenever you came back around the green belt, you would check back in. And then it was, okay, they started making friends that were also riding their bikes around the neighborhood. And it was like one more street over. Okay. So at that point, they were doing like a whole entire block. And again, the trust had to be built before they continue to expand. And now they're at the park. The park is probably like not yelling distance, but maybe like, I don't even want to say half a mile, maybe like a quarter of a mile. Literally, it's like our street, like the whole block and the mailboxes, and then if you cut between two houses but along the like community sidewalk, like almost like a green belt, and then you cross another street, the park is right there. So super close, right? Maybe like a 5-minute walk. But again, they had to earn that trust in order to get that far, which I thought was a really, really great idea. And then the last thing that he told me that I am going to do, he said that his daughter always carries a fanny pack, and in that fanny pack, she has a walkie-talkie. And that communication always has to be available. You don't turn off your walkie-talkie. You don't leave your walkie-talkie somewhere while you go play. That's why she carries the fanny pack. She leaves the walkie-talkie in there. She turns it all the way up. And when he calls for her or like checks in for her, right? Hey, is everything going okay? She has to respond. And if she doesn't respond, then they lose privileges. And I thought that was such a really, really good idea. So I am going to look up long-range walkie-talkies. I would love to know if you guys have some. Definitely send me some recommendations. I did get their version, and it is available on Amazon. So if you do want that, let me know, and I can go ahead and send you the link as well. But I thought, wow, what a great idea, right? To allow them to earn their trust, earn your trust, right? Earn that communication between you guys. And then, have walkie-talkies on hand, because there ain't no way I'm giving Lil a cell phone. Not happening. Nope. No cell phone, no social media. I am going to be that parent. Okay. It is just, it's too wild out there nowadays. And she's 6. Okay. I'm talking like maybe when she's like 14, 13, maybe. I don't know. I think I was maybe like 13 when I first got my cell phone. I had a brick, you guys. It was like, it only used calling cards. It was a brick. It was a brick. Okay. If you're watching a video, you see the size of my hands, and it had a long antenna, and you literally put it up to your ear, and it was huge. And my mom only gave me calling cards. So I had to be super strict on who I was calling. Right. And then after that, it was the Nokia snake phone, right? We all know that one. And I think I was about 13. It was about that time where our parents used to let us go to the mall like Friday nights. And like we would hang out there all night until our parents came and picked us back up. You got there like a couple hours early, you saw your movie, you stayed a couple hours after. And so like maybe I'm thinking like 13 for a cell phone. But until then, homegirl is going to be using walkie-talkies. I did see that there are like these watches that have video on them that I might also get her, which when I find one, I'll definitely share it with you guys. But I would love to hear your thoughts on what you guys do. Like I want to start the conversation. So let me know, how old are your kids and how do you let them run the neighborhood? Like it's summer now, like they're going to be spending time like outside, so much time. And then, they're going to want to go to their friend's house. By the way, we don't allow them in friend's house. Like, no, you have to stay outside. If you go to their backyard, like you need to let me know. Like if I can't walk outside and see you playing basketball, then you need to communicate that with me, right? And so really building that trust and that communication. I would love to know how you guys did that. If you are using walkie-talkies, definitely share the link with me. I need to look at some reviews. And like any other tips and tricks that you guys might be doing. Like I said, I had this conversation with my neighbor yesterday, and I was like, oh my gosh, I am at this pivotal point in parenthood where I have to give my kids a little bit of a longer leash. And I'm sure you guys are also in the same boat. So if you've loved this episode, definitely rate it, review it. Let me know in the comments. And I hope this helped you guys. And let's definitely start the conversation around this. But I hope you guys enjoyed this, and we'll talk soon. All right, mamas, that's what I have for you on today's episode.
If you've liked what you've heard, please tag me on your Instagram stories at Brandy Ververs. That way we can continue to grow and empower more mamas to live their best life. See you next time.